Hello, I'm your host, Dino Eldo, and on today's gaming review we are doing Duke Nukem Forever. That's right, the King is back after 12 plus years, I believe, because I never actually did play it when I was younger, but I believe he is back, and this is his video game. And what a video game it is. IGN give it, I think if I read it correctly, they gave it 5.5 and they called it mediocre. I happen to think that it's quite like Resistance Fall of Man in the fact that you shoot aliens and you're a first-person shooter. Although it's not as good as Resistance Fall of Man, it's definitely a contender, and I'd say it's kind of a funnier Resistance Fall of Man. Obviously Duke being Duke Nukem and having his own gaming background, which obviously I imagine expands a lot further than the Resistance series, but in itself, having not played the past Duke Nukems, I'd say that this game is really good. I mean, I don't know what they were like on PlayStation 1, but they must have been good if they made a load of hype about it in bringing this one back. Now, I think Duke Nukem is catered for men and men only. I believe this because the fact that the game starts off with you doing this little level, which is a starter right here, and it ends up with that looks like severe scrotal swelling to me. That's probably what's going on in Duke's world for some reason. Yeah, I mean, there's babes, boobs, and another thing beginning with B. Bombs. There's bombs. Babes, boobs, and bombs. That's what this game's got in it. Cars, explosions. It couldn't be a more manly game, and for that reason I love it, because I'm all for a game with that sort of stuff in it, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm not a freak. I don't get off on graphical graphical representations of babes with big, you know. But some people will, I don't. I'm just saying that's just an added bonus feature. And it's not that bad. Gameplay wise, I mean, when you're fighting bosses like this, one can only say it's magnificent. And that's why I go back to my point of it being a bit like Resistance Fall of Man, in the terms that you face big bosses in that game as well. It's a first-person shooter, aliens, all that. But this isn't the only boss you face. Obviously, this is just an intro, and in this intro you soon find out that Duke is playing on a PS3 game, perhaps, and this is on the PS3 that he's playing himself, or the Xbox, I think it is. And it turns out that whilst he's playing this, two women are sucking him off. And I suppose that's meant to bring in the whole intro of, wow, Duke Nukem, I suppose, this whole genre of some guy who's got a massive ego and likes booze, babes and bombs, you know? As you can see here, just defeated this Mong, so now we're going to go for a shot at goal. Let's do that. I say goal, whatever you call it in America. That's not a touchdown, or is it a touchdown? I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below. And there's your opening title sequence right there. Now we'll move on to whilst you're in combat. It's quite hard, it's tricky. I mean, I've died a few times playing it on normal mode, and have had to even resort to a piece of cake mode, because some of the bosses you face, you've got your pig cops, you've got your bigger pig cops. Pig cops are basically, you'll see in a minute, they're like pigs which can run around. And they don't sound that threatening, but they are. They are really threatening, and they can cause quite a lot of damage. And they do this thing where, once they're near death, they go into a huge sort of rage fit and just end up running at you, and they can cause quite a lot of trouble. Especially if there's loads of them around you at one period of time. It can be quite stressful, and you'll end up dying, and you'll get quite hacked off with the game. Which brings me to my bad point about this game. Now, I think a lot of people will agree that the loading times on this game are just stupid. I mean, you'll die, and then you'll wait, what, a minute and a half maybe? Just under a minute? I don't know if I'm exaggerating, but you'll wait that long just to retry, basically. You die, you get put onto a loading screen, which lasts, like I've said, just under a minute, maybe, over a minute, and then you get to try again. And if it's a really, really hard part and you keep dying and you know you just want to keep having multiple chances to do it, this can really frustrate some people. It frustrated me to a point which I actually turned off and thought I'll go back to it another day and try it on an easier mode. But as you can see, it's insane, it's awesome. I mean, the levels you faced are of a completely new thing to me. I mean, I've never faced pigs with guns before, in the sense of them being aliens. I mean, I've played Grand Theft Auto, but this is quite different. You've got your teleport enemies. They can be a pain in the ass, especially if you're using the Ripper gun, which they just tend to teleport everywhere. You can never get a decent shot on them. Which brings me to my next point, the guns. Now, I do like a few of the guns, mainly the ones that give big explosions. I mean, I've never been much of a noob tube fan or on Call of Duty or anything. I'm more into snipers, semi-automatic rifles, you know, rifles of that sort of genre. But in this game, I'm all about... There's this weapon called the Devastator, which is basically a two-handed cannon which fires explosive rounds, and you've got your rocket launcher, which can lock on and can cause massive damage to bosses and enemies alike. So, that being said, I'd prefer the bigger weapons for use in this game, but I'd also prefer some of the other weapons. I do like you get like a kind of sniper rifle which can cause enemies' heads to explode. You've got your shotgun, which is, I like that as my favourite sort of normal weapon, if you would. And right here I'm showing you something that you can do to interact with the game, which it does quite often. You can interact with many things during this game, especially in the beginning of the game. You can interact with stuff like this. You can add the weights and then do it, you know, pump some iron, and then which doing that in the process makes your ego bar sometimes maximise, which your ego bar is your health. I'm not sure if I've already mentioned that. And it'll obviously be good for you in the long run because you're not going to die as quickly. But your ego bar, I will say, does regenerate if you take cover, just for those wondering about it. That seems to be happening a lot in games these days. I don't mind it, it's pretty good. As you can see now, we're facing another boss. This is just one of the other mental bosses that you have to face. Quite an easy one, I'd say, but they do get progressively harder, and I imagine if I was on a harder difficulty, this would prove to be a bit of a difficult task, but it's not. It's pretty straightforward, really. If you're watching this and you're stuck on the same boss, just do what I'm doing. Throw it. Oh, and you've got these little bastards to deal with as well. Just knock them off you, and it'll be reet. What else can I talk about this game? You've got your loads of mini games as well. For example, you've got your later on you go into a strip club. That's my chair. You've got your strip club that you go into later on. I've only been in it once, but I'm not sure if it shows it again because I haven't actually completed it yet. But that's my chair again. You've got games like air hockey, pinball machine. You know, like Whack the Weasel, but it's Whack the Alien, I think, or some kind of silly thing like that. Loads of little mini games. You've got a mode in it where it's not a mode really. It's a few parts in it where Duke gets shrunk, and I'm not sure if that happened in the original, but that's quite fun, having to be the size of basically a toy and running around trying to figure out how to get taller again and fighting stuff that wouldn't usually seem a threat to you. For instance, a rat or something like a smaller enemy that's going to cause you a lot more trouble than it usually would have to. The thing about this game is that you can drive. There are quite a lot of driving parts in it. That is fun. It reminds me a lot of, there's a part in it where you're driving through the desert. That reminds me a lot of MotorStorm, the first MotorStorm game. That may have been where they decided to use that feature from, try and get something on the lines of that. But all in all, I'd say this game is a really good buy. Maybe I'd wait for it to come down in price before you go buying it at full price. Look for it online, I'm sure you can find it cheap somewhere. But all in all, I'd definitely say it's worth getting. If you've never played the Duke Nukem saga like I have, just try it, it's worth a try, because you're going to love it. Anyways, I'll wrap up on that note. That seems to be everything I can talk about this game. Thanks for joining me. join me next time when we'll be reviewing something else.